Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons. Make sure to subscribe and let's get into it, guys. First things first, just a small disclaimer. Although we are driving tanks, I am actually going to talk about aircraft. I didn't have time to do a proper match, and I had this to actually this match to actually cover. But so sorry about that. It kind of mismatched the way that I normally do things. But it's just due to the fact that I didn't have much time, actually. Just a small thing about my personal life is that I got a new car, right? If you know, you probably don't, but still. And for like not a new car, a 2013 car. So there's some things to do with it, and I'm doing myself. You know, so there's some like chain of command kind of upper casing, I think it's called in English, that I need to change because there's a small oil leak and stuff like that. So I have to check that, and I will fix it myself today. So I didn't have the time to actually properly play it, but I really wanted to release a video talking about that. But anyway, enough of personal talking, let's get on with it. So yes, as you know, the F-15 might be coming. There was those leaks that people talk about, and I even mentioned it in another video about it. But what would be the loadouts of the F-15's Cs if it's added for the 3 countries that could use it? Of course, the first one would be the normal F-15C from the US. I already covered it a little bit, but we added a little bit of some bombs. Thank you, Lazy Lime, for doing this graphic. But basically, the US never used bombs in the F-15C like this, but due to the programmable way that the F-15 has with its computers, technically it could be possible to use bombs with it. So they never used, but it could be possible. Just like the F4F has different missiles, or the MiG-29 has different weapon systems in the German Tech Tree, for example, or something like that. Other than that, of course, AIM-120s, if it's added, we added the C3, but it could be any Cs, the Bs, maybe an AIM-7MH, that would be very cool. It's an AIM-7M that has data link, so it would help a lot with the longer ranges. And of course, AIM-9Ms and AIM-9L. So you can see that it's pretty much the same type of weaponry that we have, with the addition of the Fox 3 missiles, right? When we go for Japan, we actually have some things differently. So first things first, the bluish color that we added there is basically meaning weapon systems that the Japanese never used on the F-15. But I mean, in theory, it could use it just like the Barak 2 uses the AIM-9M. I don't think the Barak 2 ever used the AIM-9M in real life, but it could. If I'm not mistaken, that's the case, right? Use the Python 4, for example. And this would be the same. The Japanese didn't have the AIM-9M. They just jumped to the AIM-3, right? So we could have the AIM-3 instead of the AIM-9M. But since it's an F-15, in theory, it can actually take the AIM-9M. Same goes for the AIM-120s. Depending on the version, they cannot use it. And in later models, we can even have something like the AIM-4. But in general, it would be earlier models of the AIM-120, AIM-7s, stuff like that for the Japanese. And of course, bombs, if they want to do the same as in the US, right? So you can see that it is pretty much the same, but with some different minor missile changes, right? Which is very, very cool to see that. I would love to see the AIM-3 specifically. It's a unique missile, even though the performance is very similar to other missiles that we already have in game, like the 9L. And then we have the AKEF, which is basically the F-15C for the Israelis. Of course, you change the AIM-3 for the Python 3, but pretty much everything else would be kind of similar or the same. AIM-120s, AIM-7s, AIM-9s, of course. You can add AIM-9M, the Lima, in the same kind of way that we talked about it. But the addition of the Israeli one would be probably the coolest version of it, because the Israeli ones were actually the only ones, if I'm not mistaken, that used ground ordnance in an F-15C. Normally it was never used, but you can see that it could actually take some GBUs, TV guided, like the 8 and the 15. And then the spice bombs. The spice are very, very interesting as well. They're basically just an add-on kit to these two specific versions, right? There are add-on kits to the Mark 83 and Mark 84 bombs. So the 1000 is the Mark 83 and the 2000 is the Mark 84. And it would basically have the same type of, similar type of line of thinking with the GBUs, right? So TV guided, if I'm not mistaken, and electro-optical, right? And, you know, it's basically a fire and forget, or rather drop and forget bomb with electrical optical system. So it can be actually defeated with some smoke grenades or something like that. But it still would be a very, very interesting bomb. And of course, non-guided stuff as well. It could actually be used, not rockets, but bombs specifically. They were able to use those, and these would be the 3 F-15s that we would see if they add these 3. And why are we thinking that the C would be the main variant? Well, in some of the leaks it would already appeared as a C, but it's kind of a logic behind it, because even though, yes, the Israelis actually used in the US to use the F-15A, the A has many limitations, especially in countermeasures. They can bypass that with some stuff, but the C would be the main variant, the variant that should be in the game, right? At least in my opinion. And the J variant, remember, for the Japanese, it is the same as a C variant, but built in Japan. So it is, you know, most likely that we see the C variant, because it would be the more complete one with proper countermeasures, everything like fine with it, the better everything compared to the A. But together with this idea that the Japan could actually receive the same level of aircraft as the other ones, because if they add the A, maybe Japan will not receive anything, and maybe they will receive the C or the J, but the other countries wouldn't receive the C and just the A, so it doesn't make much sense, right? So I really think that if the F-15 is coming, we will probably see it coming as the C variant in these 3 nations. But basically this is it, guys. Yeah, I failed to destroy that bomb, but yeah, oh well, it happens, right? Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about the F-15s, and I see you guys on the next one, okay? And yeah, F for my team for getting nuked like that. We were already getting stomped, but yeah. I see you guys. Bye. Subscribe.